he's going to take a whole bunch of spending that doesn't actually build things, that doesn't actually improve the lives of Canadians, and he's going to try to label that as capital spending.
Some shocking and unexpected admissions have come out of the Bank of Canada, and they completely shredded Mark Carney and the Liberal Party's entire narrative. Who could have imagined that reality finally shows up and people start actually telling the truth? It's the craziest thing. Meanwhile, Canada has a massive economic opportunity with the United States right now, thanks to Donald Trump's latest announcement, the kind of opportunity that other countries could very well start wars over. But instead of being useful, Canadians are over here hoarding reusable grocery bags in the trunks of their cars as though that's a retirement plan instead of, I don't know, actually doing what works, creating wealth, that sort of stuff. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, comment your thoughts down below. This is a juicy one. And as always, share this video. You know what's really bad? When a former Liberal finance minister admits on live TV that Canada could be super rich if it weren't for the policies of their Liberal Party. Crazy.
That didn't happen. Right? The global economy is still okay, right? Everybody's sort of starting to revise up their growth estimates.
Exports of other countries to the United States, particularly China, the European Union, and Canada, down sharply. You are seeing, at the same time, you're seeing countries trying to increase their trade with non-US, with other countries. Now for Canada, that's a lot harder. 75% of our trade is with the United States. You do see some increase in our trade with other countries, but we can't replace 75% because we are so integrated with the United States. Our actually average tariff rate with US is comparatively low, 6%, around 6%, which is low by global standards, but as I said, 75% of our trade is with the United States. Our economies are so integrated. Many products are produced across the border multiple times before they're a final product. So yeah, it's going to be a bigger adjustment for us than for anyone else.
But hey guys, it is budget day and the Liberal Party posted today our new Liberal government will present Budget 2025, our plan to build, protect, and empower. Wow, what a slogan that is. We're building a stronger economy with new opportunities, better careers, and a lower cost of living. Wow, that is just the most hopeful thing I've ever heard in my life. Interesting words from a government that has done none of the three and actually contributed to all of the three becoming much worse for their citizens. So that's fascinating. Perhaps it should be we're going to build debt, empower the bureaucracy, and protect government jobs, like their federal government jobs. I don't know, maybe that could be it, because they have built record deficits, they've protected zero industries, and they have empowered nobody except for lobbyists and consultants. Bold slogan, Liberal government.
I will stress, these are not things the monetary policy can do. They're not things within our mandate. We do spend a lot of time looking at the economy. We can help with the diagnosis, but when it comes to the specific policies, I'm going to leave that to our elected governments. But look, you just look at a map of North America, Canada, the U.S. Canada's a long way across, and it's been so much easier to just trade north-south, north-south, north-south. And as a result, we've underinvested in developing our internal market. We have too many interprovincial trade barriers. We have all sorts of provincial accreditation bodies for almost every plumbers, electricians, doctors, nurses, engineers, you name it. You can move, but there's added friction.
It is really fascinating to listen to the Bank of Canada confirm the truth. That same truth that, I don't know about you, but I've been called all sorts of names over. Jasmine Lane, you are such a traitor because you live in reality. Yeah, you maggot. Oh yeah, you're just a terrible woman over there. You're lying, spewing lies because you recognize, as most people do, that we cannot replace the U.S. as our primary trading partner. And to be frank, I don't even know why we would want to. I mean, let's just look at the options, really. there really isn't a replacement if we trade more with the EU. Let's say we suddenly increase our trade with the EU to 75%, which is impossible. They're broke. They're protectionist, much more than we are. They're also very anti-resource. So, what are we going to trade with them? What about Asia? Oh, yes, we do not have pipelines. Yes, our ports are maxed. We don't have that infrastructure. Oh, well, China. Yeah, China's the next best bet. Is it? With all their sanctions and their hostility. Is it really? Okay. And what about domestically? Well, that is just too small of a share. A country that just trades with itself. That doesn't exist because it doesn't work. So the idea that we can swap out the U.S. on a very mass scale is kind of like, I don't know, childish. Oh, but Jasmine, Trump is trying to annex us. Is he? Ugh.
Do you think that this conversation about the 51st state and all, is that going to come back? Are we out of the woods yet?
11th province.
Are we done with that yet?
We love our 51st state, Canada. You know, we want to have fair trade with our allies, with countries all around the world. And so for the president, he's like, you know what? Maybe we make them our 51st state. And the second he says that, people are like, oh, sir, you can't say that. So you know what he does? He says it a little bit more. We love Canada. We love our 51st state.
Did you see the photo of him like standing like, and there's like a flag, a Canadian flag behind him?
Oh, I haven't
put
seen
it out
this.
on Truth
Oh,
Social.
I love it.
I mean, everybody was like lighting their hair on fire because they're freaking out, right? Because they're thinking, okay, the Americans are going to come to invade. I mean, when I looked at that,
Oh my God.
I was just like, guys, he's kind of trolling.
If your biggest talking point is that you want your government to rewrite their entire trade structure, damage their entire relationship, which in turn, by the way, damages us with other relationships too, because USA is number one, and people who don't get along with USA are often not viewed as very reliable trading partners. But if that's your argument, and you're going to rewrite your entire policy because somebody made a mean tweet that you didn't like, you have left the policy conversation and you have entered fan fiction. And also, I'm pretty sure that says more about you than it does about anybody else. These are the same people who are cheering on that Reagan ad.
That's not something that happens overnight. So like what will be or what could be stimulative in the near term without adding to the fiscal issues that you already laid out?
Well, I think there are a few items that Amanda's already mentioned. I mean, clearly you've got to get your investment climate right. We're net importers of capital. We need the capital to do the works that need to be done, whether they're long-term or short-term. And that means that investors have to have some confidence that they can get to a yes when they want to build a project. They have to be satisfied that the returns they're going to get are as good or better than the returns they can get elsewhere. And that means, in part, we've got to be able to demonstrate that we have access to international markets, including the United States. It doesn't have to be tariff-free. We can deal with tariffs, but other markets as well. We're rich in natural resources. We've been very poor at getting those out of the ground and into foreign hands, where we want to sell them in order to get the returns on them. That's the quickest way for us to earn the kind of money that we need to make, is to get those resources to markets. And it means regulatory reforms, and it means that we've got to have the Prime Minister and a cabinet and provincial premiers that are out there saying, we can do this, we are going to do this, we're going to strip down those interprovincial trade barriers once and for all. We're going to build the infrastructure necessary in our ports, on our highways, our transportation systems, not just pipelines, but all of the other things that we need to do in order to get our goods into foreign hands.
You heard it here first, my friend. Former finance minister for the Liberal Party, John Manley, has come out as conservative. Welcome. Welcome, John. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can use your skills to help educate the rest of the country. And I think his comments really remind me of the crux of what makes being a conservative in this country so frustrating. Because the same people who have cheered on and supported tax the rich, who wrote angry emails demanding their MPs block pipelines, delay mines, cancel resource projects because it made them feel morally superior, like they had at least a little bit of control in their life that they don't control at all because our government is so deeply involved in everything from what we pay at the pump, your opportunity, your job, to your social media algorithm. Like, it is so unreal to see those same people who have supported and continued to in this past election, a government that is kneecapping the very industries that feed this country, now call you a traitor because you're pointing out the consequences of all of that failure. And they have wrapped themselves in this false sense of Team Canada, but you have actually been Team Canada this entire time. Now, nobody could have predicted Donald Trump slapping tariffs on us and the media hysteria that followed that. However, I think anybody with a brain cell could have predicted that isolating your country from other markets was a bad and stupid idea, that making the investment environment inoperable was a bad and stupid idea. Yet they did it anyway, and they have the audacity to call you names now. That is something.
The budget of today is an investment budget. You're going to see generational investments, ambitious in our investment, rigorous in our spending, and I think we're meeting the moment. Canadians have felt the world is changing. There's a lot of things going on. There's some headwinds, but Canada has a very strong fiscal position. We can make these investments at the time, being very rigorous in our spending.
Hearing that just makes me feel sick because it's just not true. It's just not true at all. And it kills me that people eat that up, and they don't see the bigger picture, the whole picture. They don't factor in 10 years prior that dramatically changed the landscape of investment in the economy in this country. And those 10 years under a Liberal government of which François-Philippe Champagne was a part of, it just makes me feel so sick. It really does. It feels evil. But I did want to highlight a pretty powerful moment from MP. His name's Jacob Mantle. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him when I was down in West Block in Ottawa last week. Lovely gentleman. He helped kind of tour me around with Aaron Gunn a little bit. Really, really awesome dude. But so here's what he had to say about that generational investment.
I hear so much now about generational investment. And when I hear that, I just think generationally expensive. And you will all have to pay for that because you are the next generation who are going to inherit the debts of this generation. And that really gets me going because the Liberals have stoked every divide they can find in this country. And the next one they're stoking, in my view, is this generational between, frankly, people my parents' age who own their own, have their retirement, which they worked hard for, and people who are striving to achieve those things, which is you guys. And I think the Liberals are making it extremely difficult for the next generation to do the same things that their parents did. So every dollar spent is just one more dollar on our debt.
And none of this is rocket science, right? Like, money goes where money is accepted and wanted. It doesn't go where it's punished. People who are really successful in life don't go where they're punished. They go where the opportunity is. That's just how to survive 101.
So what might some of those measures look like when we're talking about making Canada more attractive to investment? Certainly the uncertainty and the instability is not helping. And it's difficult because, of course, that's been created by an outside force. But internally, there needs to be a fix. What do you think that fix might be that we could see in the budget?
Yeah, well, one of the things, we've been spending the last few months, Arthi, talking about the trade war and tariffs and what the U.S. is doing and how that's disrupting and making more complicated the work that we do. And is that threatening communities? Is that threatening jobs? And so we're kind of in defense mode, right? We've been like responding to that and worrying about that. But in the meantime, what the U.S. has been doing with their One Big Beautiful Bill is they've been reducing corporate taxes. They've been reducing the regulatory burden on businesses. And what we've seen is an incredible inflow of capital, global capital, going into the US and saying, we want to build a business there. We want to expand a plant there. We want to see our money grow. This is what, corporations look for. And so those conditions, the regulatory conditions, the investment tax credits, the incentives for investment are really profound in the US right now. And so we're in defense mode responding to tariffs. But in the meantime, there's a lot of capital flowing into the US. So we need to see the Canadian government look at competitiveness around our companies looking to invest in Canada. These major projects we want to build across the country, even local infrastructure projects, are the conditions there? So is the tax system working? Is permitting taking 15 years to get a project built? Is the interplay between the province and the federal government working for business, or is it creating too many barriers? And then are there specific areas, you can talk about critical minerals, you can talk about port infrastructure. Are there certain areas where the government's saying we need a bit more of that? So we're going to, if you put in your private capital, we're going to give you even more tax relief, or we're going to incentivize you to do that because we know those are the projects Canada needs right now. So we're going to be looking at this budget from that lens of, are they attracting foreign capital? Are they attracting domestic capital, pension funds, those sorts of things? Are they incentivizing how they get involved in the private sector? Because again, the government can't spend us into growth. The private sector has to do that.
The U.S. under Donald Trump is doing exactly what every single serious country in the world should be doing, breaking free from the chokehold that China has on critical minerals. They're building new supply chains, they're creating alliances, they're reshoring industry, and guess what? They would love to partner with Canada. And guess what? We have exactly what they want, and it would benefit us hugely. It would benefit the US. It could totally fix that relationship. One thing when it comes to all of this Trump trade talk negotiations is I don't know why not a single official in the Canadian government has been looking at what other successful nations have done in order to secure lower tariffs. They just haven't. And that is make a deal. And we have a lot of opportunity to do exactly that when it comes to critical minerals. And ever so conveniently, Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. will be ending its dependency on Chinese rare earths within 18 months. He says that China's ability to threaten America and its allies by dominating the critical mineral sector will soon fade. It goes on to say that they are going to have an emergency program to build domestic and allied supply chains, describing the initiative as a key national security priority following Beijing's recent export restrictions. In an interview that he had on the 2nd of November with CBS on 60 Minutes, Trump said that his administration's new rare earth plan would ensure that the United States can meet all of its industrial and defense needs in less than 2 years, citing new partnerships with Japan, Australia, and the UK. There's somebody really important missing from that, isn't there? That's Canada. Hey, with all of our critical minerals that we have that we just don't do anything with.
Instead, we're going all electric, and we don't have that. Although we do have some, and it's usually controlled by the environmentalists. We're going to uncontrol it pretty quick. It's called rare earth. We have some great rare earth science.
The U.S. is literally saying we need allies to replace China. And Canada responds back to, well, we're actually going to enter a strategic partnership with China because we don't want to do business with you because you posted a mean tweet that we used to create a mass psychosis amongst particularly the older generation of Canadian voters who actually are our main voters if you go by any of the data that's coming out. Canada then also says, but, maybe we'll have to get back to you after we finish, multiple consultations, environmental reviews, litigation, Indigenous veto processes, impact assessments, and public feedback forms. So maybe in another 15 years, the U.S., it is absolute insanity because truly with this, and I'm not saying that Trump has actually come to Canada and said, hey, Canada, this is for you, but this is the moment. This is a really good moment that could be beneficial if utilized appropriately with the United States of America. of a once in a generation strategic alignment where the US is not only ready to buy what we have, but pay to build the infrastructure we need. And what do? So far, it's been complete silence because we want to diversify away from America. And yes, we should do that too. You can do both, though. You can absolutely do both. And unfortunately, right now, we're doing zero. Crazy how Mark Carney has had like 20 plus trips or something like that at this point, multiple with the UK. He's met with Japan. Didn't have any such deals, did he? There is one highlight, though. According to CTV News, this was published yesterday evening. The feds are unveiling proposed changes to the EV sales mandate this winter. So that'll help so long as it's actually removed and isn't just postponed, because that's not going to spur investment at all. That's not how capital flows. They're not going to bank on something and set up operations if it's just going to get canceled in another 6 months. But Mark Carney is heavily invested in everything green, clean energy fighting machine, energy killing machine. That makes more sense. But nonetheless, after years of telling Canadians the future is electric, we got to be green, baby. Climate is a huge part of this budget, allegedly. He has quietly hit the pause button on the EV mandate, which isn't really a review. It's definitely a confession that the targets were completely unrealistic. They were a fantasy, they were a dream, that the industry couldn't meet them, and that the market does not want what Ottawa keeps trying to force upon it. Because if EVs were flying off the lots, there would not be a pause on absolutely anything. And the mandate has collapsed because demand isn't there. That's it. That's full stop. Using Mark Carney's words, that is it. Even after the government was trying to bribe people with $5,000 EV rebates, EV sales peaked at 18%. And the second that $5,000 rebate stopped, sales dropped to 8.8%. So that's not a transition, that is a subsidy addiction. And that is also my greatest fear with the budget that is going to be announced in a few hours. We will definitely be talking more about that tomorrow. And I really pray that it is not more subsidy addiction, because we will not survive even 4 more years of that with the state that we are in right now. I'm Jasmine Lane. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day despite all of the stress. The sun isn't shining here where I am, but maybe it is for you. And if it is, please go outside and get some of it in my honor. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. Give us a follow on other social media channels as well. And also give me a subscription on Substack. I'm new there. I saw that the Jasmine Lane Substack is growing, number 20 in news right now. So maybe we can boost that up to number 1. Maybe that's a bit of a fantasy. I'll talk to you tomorrow.